A bowling alley makes surprisingly little money from bowling. The lanes are the cheapest part of your evening, and they are meant to be. The bowling is the bait. The money is in the pint you buy while you wait, the food between games, and the arcade your children drag you into on the way out. You did not come for the lanes came for you. Hold on to that, because it explains the whole strange shape of the building. Start with the size of the thing, because a bowling alley is enormous, and the size is not optional. A single lane needs around 80 feet of length behind it, once you include the approach, the lane itself, and the machinery at the far end. And a bowling alley cannot really work with only a lane or two. It needs a proper row of them to absorb a busy Saturday, which means the building has to be very large, very long, and largely open. That is a huge, fixed, expensive footprint. It has to be rented or bought, heated across its whole volume, lit from end to end, and kept staffed. And none of those costs care whether the lanes are full or empty. The heating bill for a hall that size is the same on a dead Monday as it is on a packed Friday night. So before anyone throws a single ball, you are carrying the cost of what is essentially a heated warehouse. Now think about how that warehouse actually earns. A game of bowling is priced gently, because it has to be. It is the reason people agree to come. And if it were expensive, they simply would not. So the lane itself is sold at a modest price, sometimes almost as a loss leader, and everything is arranged so that while you are there, you spend on the things that actually carry the margin. The shoe hire, which costs the alley very little and is charged every single time. The bar, where the drinks carry the kind of margin the lanes never could. The food, the burgers, and the sharing platters sold to people who are already there and already hungry. And the arcade by the exit, full of machines quietly earning on every pound fed into them, aimed squarely at children on the way past. The lanes are not where you make your money. The lanes are the doorway. What you sell, once people are through it, is where the business actually lives. And this is why a bowling alley is really a hospitality business wearing a sports costume. The bowling is the attraction. The food and drink is the trade. If you strip the numbers back, you often find a building that earns more from a bar and a kitchen than from the game it is named after. But here is the part almost nobody sees, and it changes everything. Behind every single lane, hidden at the far end where the pins stand, sits a machine most customers have never laid eyes on. It is called a pinsetter. It is the machine that clears the fallen pins, returns your ball, and resets a perfect triangle every time. It is large, it is mechanical, and it is astonishingly complicated. And here is the problem. Many of the pinsetters still working in bowling alleys today are decades old. They are heavy, proprietary pieces of engineering, and in a great many venues they have been running since long before the current owner arrived. Maintaining them is a specialist job. Parts can be scarce. The engineers who understand the older systems are not on every high street, and replacing a full set of them across every lane is a cost large enough to threaten the whole business. So there is one of these aging, demanding machines behind every lane you own, and each one has to keep working, because a lane with a broken pinsetter earns nothing at all. It just sits there, dark, in the middle of the row, a dead length of that expensive warehouse. Picture a busy Saturday with a queue at the desk and one machine in the middle of the row jams. That lane is now closed. The families booked onto it have to be moved or turned away. The income from it is gone for the evening, and somewhere a specialist engineer is being called out at a rate that reflects how few of them there are. One machine, on one lane, on your busiest night, and it has quietly cost you twice the repair and all the custom that lane could not take. You are not simply running a bowling alley. You are keeping a row of complicated, aging machines alive, one behind every lane, for as long as you own the place. That is a fixed cost, a maintenance burden, and a replacement threat all at once, sitting underneath a business whose actual profit comes from selling food and drink. Then, on top of all of it, comes the weather and the calendar. A bowling alley is an indoor business, which sounds like protection until you realize what it means. Its busiest times are the cold, the wet, the dark, and the school holidays, when there is little else to do, and a warm hall full of activity is exactly what people want. A rainy February half-term can be genuinely excellent. And then summer arrives. The evenings turn light, the weather turns fine, and people do the last thing a bowling alley needs. They go outside. Through the warm months, that enormous building can sit half empty night after night, still heated, still lit, still staffed, still carrying every fixed cost it had in the winter, with a fraction of the trade coming through the door. Your best friend is bad weather. Your enemy is a nice evening, and you cannot control either one, So consider what you are actually running. You are running an enormous, permanently expensive building, earning most of its money from a bar and a kitchen rather than the game on the sign, kept alive by a row of aging machines that are difficult and costly to maintain, busy when the weather is miserable, and quiet the moment it improves. So if you decide to buy a bowling alley, understand what you are actually buying. You are not buying a bowling business. You are buying a heated warehouse, a bar with lanes attached, and a row of decades-old machines you are now responsible for keeping alive, in a building that does its best trade only when the weather is at its worst. The bowling is the easy part. It was never where the money was. What you are really paying for is the floor space, the machines behind the pins, and a very long bet on it raining at half-term.